The Last Dance was marketed as the ultimate swan song for Tom Hardy, supposedly the final chapter in the story of Eddie Brock and Venom. Rumors swirled for months before its release that Sony planned to kill off the Lethal Protector and wrap up the trilogy on a heartbreakingly note. While the ending leaned into predictability and failed to achieve blockbuster status, one undeniable truth emerged. Viewers still love Venom. Sony knows this all too well. Despite the finality of the marketing campaign, the producers left not one, but several doors open for the character's inevitable return. Whether Tom Hardy will reprise the role or not, one thing is crystal clear. The franchise is far from over. In The Last Dance, Venom sacrifices himself to save Eddie and the Earth from the clutches of Null and his army of xenophagic creatures. This selfless act is driven by the revelation that Eddie and Venom, in their combined form, possess a unique genetic codex capable of freeing Null from his cosmic prison. In a gut-wrenching scene, Venom immerses himself and the xenophagic creatures in acid, seemingly destroying them all. Eddie, now symbioteless, heads to New York to start over and keep a long-held promise to visit the Statue of Liberty. But in the post-credits tease, the final scene pans to a shattered vial containing a viral shed of the symbiote. Nearby, a cockroach crawls ominously close, heavily implying that Venom isn't entirely gone, just in a diminished, precarious state. For those who watch The Last Dance closely, there's another intriguing detail buried in the film. During the final battle, one of Null's xenophagic creatures brutally attacks a soldier from Strickland's squad, devouring his legs. The soldier's first name is never revealed, but his last name is Thompson. Comic book fans will instantly recognize the significance. He is clearly meant to be Flash Thompson, one of the many Spider-Man characters that Sony owns the movie rights to. His losing his legs matches the canon wherein Flash joins the army and has to have his legs amputated after a devastating injury. Still driven to serve his country, Thompson could soon take center stage in Sony's Spider-Man universe. After losing his legs in The Last Dance, he might agree to undergo a risky government experiment, bonding him with the weakened remnants of Venom, codenamed Agent Venom. He would have a bit more control over the symbiote than Brock did, but only due to the alien creature not being whole anymore. This evolution seems like the logical path for Sony to explore, offering a fresh perspective on the Venom legacy while paving the way for a bold new chapter in their Spider-Man universe. Agent Venom would be a drastic departure from Eddie Brock's version, known for his disciplined tactical approach. Flash embodies a hybrid of Spider-Man's agility and the Punisher's brutal firepower. This isn't an anti-hero swinging through cities on webs or summoning shape-shifting appendages to fight his enemies. Instead, he's a combat-savvy soldier blending superhuman athleticism with a cache of firearms. If Sony leans into this evolution, it could breathe new life into the franchise. Let's be real. While the Venom trilogy has been a box office juggernaut, it's never been a critical darling. Many viewers have slammed the films for their campy tone, which feels at odds with the grim nature of symbiotes in Marvel Comics. Fans of Venom's darker, more menacing comic book roots have often criticized the trilogy for pulling its punches. So, an Agent Venom movie could be the perfect opportunity to flip the script and embrace the character's grittier potential. Imagine a movie that combines sci-fi horror with high-octane John Wick-type action, with Flash Thompson stalking his enemies in the shadows, relying on precise gunplay and guerrilla warfare tactics, instead of over-the-top symbiotic theatrics. The tone could take a sharp turn towards seriousness, shedding the slapstick antics that divided audiences. Not only would this shift make the character more engaging, but it could also position Agent Venom as a franchise reboot rather than a continuation of more of the same. Studios have a golden opportunity to pivot their Spider-Man universe towards something fresh and bold. From a practical standpoint, this evolution makes sense for Sony. Agent Venom could be more budget-friendly, focusing on character-driven storytelling rather than CGI-heavy spectacle. At the same time, it could open the door for exciting crossovers. Agent Venom could completely break away from the larger storyline of Null's invasion of Earth, standing on its own as an independent narrative. Technically a continuation of the trilogy, but with a brand new protagonist. It's Venom, but also not. This duality makes Agent Venom the ideal option for producers to hit the reset button without throwing away the success of the original films. It represents a clean slate, both narratively and stylistically. And with Flash Thompson stepping up, Eddie's fate could take any number of interesting turns. His storyline is now wide open, with endless possibilities for where it could go next. The most logical assumption is that Eddie's return is inevitable, especially since he's practically destined to confront or cross paths with Null. Ignoring Tom Hardy while moving forward with a King in Black adaptation would feel not just strange, but outright nonsensical. The Last Dance does free Eddie from Venom, but it's hardly a happy ending. The severance is bittersweet at best, leaving him the opportunity to return to New York and potentially restart his career as a reporter, with the events of the past essentially wiped clean. Eddie has to rebuild his life from scratch in a city that once shunned him. Ironically, this mirrors Peter Parker's fate in No Way Home, where he's left to navigate life alone without any of his former connections. For now, the two most likely paths for Venom seem clear: a full-blown King in Black adaptation featuring Eddie, and a standalone Agent Venom movie. Sony has made no secret of its plans to expand the Spider-Man universe, consistently adding more characters and building out the lore. There's no question Agent Venom will eventually claim his spot in this growing franchise. However, considering the current trajectory towards Secret Wars, it's unlikely Agent Venom will debut within the next 2 years. More realistically, he could be introduced through a smaller-scale project, potentially via an Amazon Prime miniseries akin to Spider-Man Noir with Nicolas Cage. Such an approach would allow Sony to explore Agent Venom's backstory in depth, setting him up as a major player for future movies. Subscribe,